big mouth.
You got 2 jobs. Keep it down to $1 more. I will do it. I will do it. I'll get a job.
He's got a big mouth, that guy.
You know what? You guys all stink.
Quiet, please.
Our G-20 and the $1.2 billion that was wasted by the Conservative government. On that stead, my second question is, do you believe that citizens' civil liberties were infringed during the G-20 summit? And do you support calls for a public inquiry into the state's actions?
On the morning after the G-20, I think I was amongst the first politicians that said we definitely need to have forms of inquiry. I never said a public inquiry, but we definitely have to learn the lessons from the G-20 because our city was used. We were used like a film set. Everybody inside the fence was A-OK and everybody outside the fence was left to deal with people that had no interest except in making a mess of our city. And my spouse had, we live near Allen Gardens, he had the diaper bag for our baby searched. So the level of police presence, etc., I don't think it was a very, very good showing, and I think that it's necessary. But I am pleased that some of the work that's been going on through the efforts of the Police Services Board is going to help us to learn some of those lessons. But we can't just let that event pass itself by without making sure that we learn those lessons and become even better. We have a diverse city, obviously, and we have to always be pressing forward and making sure that our capability of our policing matches the diversity of our city, and I don't think the G-20 was a good performance all across the board. And if the Government of Canada ever again suggests it, and I have anything to do about it, I'm going to tell them in no uncertain terms that they can jam the idea of bringing that to our city. Thank you.
The Toronto that was shown during the G20 is not my Toronto. I don't think it's the Toronto that all of us are proud of in terms of our civil liberties, our diversity, our strength, the amazing city that we have. We did not get the chance to show that to the world. As a matter of fact, there were 10,000 people who marched with the labor movement, arguing against poverty in the world, arguing against war, arguing for the environment, and their voices got stifled by that what happened. And frankly, Mr. Harper should be ashamed of himself for having spent $1.2 billion of the money that we could have used otherwise for this event. In Pittsburgh, I think they spent $100 million. He gave a blank check, which got wasted, if you will. We in the city didn't ask for it. It was imposed upon us by the federal government. And even when they wanted to impose it, I, as chair of exhibition, says, don't have it downtown. Have an exhibition place at least where it's cordoned off and the damage will be less. Did they listen? Absolutely not. And I think that the federal, if you will, the law enforcement will have the order of the day, and it was they who basically imposed the lack of community policing, lack of dealing with people like we normally do in Toronto, which is much more community-based and more respect of civil liberties.
Thank you.
The police were in a really, really tough situation. On Saturday night, they weren't doing enough, and then Sunday they were doing too much. So I think it's a give and take. I personally believe we have the best police force in the world. I think they're fantastic. Second guessing what they do. I think they handle the G-20 the best they could.